Hey everybody, my next guests are rocking the Long Island rock scene with their blend of incredible metal guitar shredding and powerful vocals. Their latest single, Gates of Buddha, just dropped this week and it's a banger. I'm telling you, you got to check it out. Here they are to tell us all about it is Jill Gioia and Mickey Lyxx of the Mickey Lyxx Band. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on?
This is awesome to have you on. I remember Jill talking to you back in the day. I left Long Island for a little while, came back the last couple of years, but back in the day, I wrote for Good Times magazine, interviewed you a few times with "He's My Bitch" and when
Yes.
and the Trans-Siberian Orchestra stuff, and your Jimmy Choo shoes and all that good stuff.
Oh, Steve Madden shoes.
Yeah, oh yeah, Steve Madden.
Yeah.
That's yeah. So it's been a minute, and Nikki, it's great to meet you. And you're a young man, but you seem to have a ton of experience under your belt already, and I think that's pretty amazing. You're living my dreams of when I was about your age of rocking out and rocking next to Jill Gioia on stage, shredding the guitars.
Well, I'm this girl and he's my bitch. No, don't make her like we used to.
So tell me a little bit about how this all began with you two, how you guys connected and formed this the Mickey Lyxx Band.
Yeah, well, I think it doesn't start with me as it does much with her and my dad.
Yes.
So, I mean, you can kind of give the story and then I can just kind of fade in from there.
Okay, so Mickey's dad and I, well, Mickey's dad is my boyfriend, and the story is that, well, we grew up living down the street from each other around the block, and we dated in high school for a few years, and life took us in different places, but we stayed in touch, and Mickey's a band he was in was playing with my band. And so we reconnected and we're back together. So, so that's how that goes. But so it's an amazing story, just how life took us back around and God was like, yeah, you belong together. And Mickey is just from the first time I saw him and heard him play, I was floored.
Yeah.
I was amazed. And, for such a young person, he's experienced so much. And, with his touring Europe, he's built a name for himself. But we're so close. And I love working with Mick. Him and I, it's just effortless. We just really get each other. And musically, it's I enjoy it so much. I mean, it means so much that he wants to have me involved with his project, and it's the best thing I've done so far.
Beneath the broken ramparts, there's a cold in my heart, growing stronger every day.
Wow, that's saying a
Yeah.
lot.
Just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just to like chime in on this. I mean, so, they're together, her and my dad are together, and it's great. She's amazing. And for, with what I do, I've always been a hired hand, but I still keep my solo project up and running, even if it's just little things here and there. I released an instrumental album, and then we were doing some commercial rock stuff. But as of recent, I reworked a few projects. I left a project, and for me, it was, well, I kind of want to focus now on me and what my passions are, which is music. And history is a big thing for me. I really love history. And I've always been a huge fan of power metal. I've always loved power metal. So, I've been writing that. I've been exactly writing that because it's really where my heart lies. It's really, I do a lot of work in Europe. And for me, I knew, okay, this is something that I know they'll really be into. So I already kind of have my stronghold there and I can just bring it there. So I've been writing this, and with my solo project, I've always worked with Steve McQueen, who's my drummer.
Right, yeah.
And so me and him have always worked together. He's fantastic. But so when doing this, I mean, Jill has a fantastic voice, and we work on music all the time together. But when starting with this metal stuff, I knew she's a phenomenal singer, but it was the first time hearing her sing something like this, right? Where
Right. Yeah.
it's power metal, it's there's so much to it. I mean, not that obviously I knew she was capable, but it was interesting to be like, all right, let's give this a shot. Let's hear how it goes. Let's do it. And like from the second, it's like, all right, so the first line is this. Okay. Ah, all right, and we're good. And we're good. This is what we're gonna be doing.
Till the man goes from the rain.
So for me, it's amazing to have a group that is tight knit and is like family.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, like I mean, it pretty much is family between her and Steve
Yeah.
and me. It's fantastic to have a group that works together so like just effortlessly. You know, we're all a team, and we're able to collaborate so easily with respect in mind. You know, not getting in each other's way, and just it's been phenomenal. So that's how we've started to work together. Is just we've done gigs together now for about 2-3 years, but now with this project, this is kind of new. This is, you know what I mean. This is very
Right. And you guys, it's like a three-piece metal band. It sounds like way bigger the way you guys pull it off.
yeah.
Like you said, Jill's just killing it with the vocals. And like I know she was, did this stuff with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, so she had a little bit of that kind of metal vibe. But this is like, yeah, hitting those notes like those.
I love it. I absolutely, it's just, I mean, I'm having the best time singing this kind of music. And I never had the opportunity to, I've always loved rock music, and, that's the whole TSO kind of thing, element of rock. But metal is very, very different. And, but I love it. I absolutely, like, I feel it just, everything resonates with me. And Mick is so talented, and I'm enjoying the whole thing, just of the whole creative process. And, Steve McQueen is phenomenal on drums, and we are a family. So
Right, yeah, that's super cool.
fantastic.
And Mickey definitely shredding up there on stage. I was watching some of the live stuff that I could find on YouTube. Everything he did from like with the stuff with like Holy Mother and some of the other things you worked on. Your stuff with Jill. You definitely have that stage presence, and you're killing it on guitar. What was some of your influences? Because a lot of young guys, aren't really always drawn towards that kind of, Norwegian metal or that European metal scene, which I love. I mean, I grew up with like, all that kind of stuff. Man of War. I mean, they're an American band, but they are huge over there, or at least they used to be back in the days, and bands like that. But what were some of your influences?
Well, I think growing up, I mean, it was always Van Halen in the house. You know what I mean? So my dad would play Van Halen when I was like 2 years old. So I didn't pick up guitar until I was about 12 or 13. But Van Halen was always on, right? So for me, Eddie was always such a huge influence. And then when I started to pick up guitar, there were players like Steve Vai that I was super into. Good friend of mine, Archie Cruz, with the band Santa Cruz, I was really into his work. And then eventually I ended up studying under one of my favorite guitar players of all time, a guitar player named Jackie Vincent, who was in a band called Falling in Reverse.
Oh yeah.
I absolutely loved his work. I mean, I listened to him when I was like 7. I didn't even play guitar at the time. I thought he was the man. And then to get to take lessons under him, like to learn from someone like that, their experience was just absolutely fantastic. And then, of course, like you have players like Yngwie Malmsteen, who, I was lucky enough last August to open for in Europe, and that was like, whew. That was
Damn,
so
that's
cool.
pretty
But so
cool.
I think from that
Yeah.
you get this segue, right, of like this neoclassical metal, this neoclassical shred guitar that kind of segues into power a bit, right? So then from there I got into bands like Sabaton, Civil War, Blind Guardian, even Manowar. But then even I'm a big Maiden fan growing up, and Maiden
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of inspires all that, right? So it kind of just segues, and then it just makes what it is now, what we come out with, right?
yeah. That's awesome. And have now being with Ingve and having him in your hemisphere, when you're touring with him, did you get to talk to him? Did he watch you play? Did he get any feedback from?
I didn't get to talk to him. I didn't see him backstage because our dressing rooms were always happened to be just a little spaced out. But I mean, I did get to watch him every night. You know what I mean? And just to see him just play. I mean, it was sweet that when we were on the road, he did share an article. Like there was an article from, I think, Scotland that really like wrote a really nice write up about me, and he shared it on his page. And that for me, I was like, oh, that's really cool. So
Yeah,
although I didn't get to chat with him, it was like, oh, well, obviously he's had to watch some of what I'm doing. And for a guitar player who's opening for Yngwie Malmsteen, it's a lot.
yeah,
It's an interesting feeling, right? It's like because you're like, ooh, Yngwie. I love Yngwie, but it's a tall order. But it was so cool. It was fantastic.
I mean, coming out opening for him, how are the fans responding to you, or are they, just waiting to get to Ingray, or are they like being inspired by what you're doing and being like, hey, this is like the future here?
I think it was a really good comparison. It was a really good match. Because so like with bands I've been in before, like I always loved like when I would read an article and it would say like, oh, like clearly studied Malmsteen. Like there were a lot of articles I would say, and like honestly that was the biggest compliment to me, was like they would make some type of Malmsteen quote. And for me I was just like, oh, that's awesome. So to finally be like from that to, oh, I'm opening for Yngwie is like, holy crap.
That's huge. And Jill, as a veteran of the scene, you're like a Long Island legend, a staple of the rock scene. How important is it for you to like continuously raise the bar on yourself and kind of challenge yourself and try different genres? And like you said, like, getting into the metal thing. Um, how important is that to you?
It's so important. Just I love how I can look back and see how things have evolved, with whether it be music that I've written or, just being in different bands, singing rock music. Um, it always seemed like, well, especially metal bands, like it's a male dominated uh, genre of music, rock, and I mean, there's your Doro and
Right,
your
yeah.
rock chick rock singers and stuff like that. But um, over the years, I've really enjoyed singing the music that I love, which is a lot of it is male fronted. Whether it's I love Steven Tyler, Aerosmith, or if it's Dio, who is absolutely amazing. Um, there's a lot of bands, male bands, and artists, male fronted artists. Like I just love, it's always where you're in a band, whether it's, obviously I've done the original thing, but I've also done covers. It's a great way to make a living in between, just the artistry and being creative as a solo artist. But just having that opportunity to embrace the music that I really love, which is rock music, and now with the metal, it's I feel like I'm coming into what I really should be doing, and I'm just having a great time, with Mickey, and it's pretty incredible because my very first band was with his father. And we were dating back in the day. It was
Right.
called Without Warning. But just when I saw Mick play, it's just like he raises the bar. He's just he has talent pouring out of him, and I'm just really just so happy to be a part of this. I mean, I just
Yeah.
feel like there's something in my soul, and this was all meant to be. So,
Yeah, like you said, everything comes back around again, and
mhm.
you know, when you see, a young guy like Mickey with this incredible, you know, skill, this, he's just like a virtuoso on the guitar. He
Yes.
makes it look easy,
Mhm.
and you know, I can't even air guitars as good as he actually does guitar. No, but when did you like discover this knack for the guitar? Was this because your dad's influence when you were young, growing up, and did you always have a guitar in your hand, or when did you realize that this was it?
So for me, I didn't grow up with a guitar in my hand. Crazy enough, I grew up with a hockey stick in my hand.
Repping the Islanders, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So for me, it was. I mean, I was always around music. I was always around metal. My earliest bands I was listening to were Iron Maiden, Van Halen, Pantera. Like I was into that stuff, and I
Right,
was
yeah.
into it. It wasn't just like, oh, like some kids are like, it's my dad's music. I was like,
Right,
no,
right.
I really loved it. I really don't know what made. Well, I do kind of know, but there was like I picked up guitar just out of, I guess, one day. It was just, I guess, my time too. Like it wasn't. It just came to me, and then I actually got a really bad concussion when playing hockey, and it just kind of forced me to just stay inside, and I was playing guitar like nonstop, and from there it went from like a hobby to a passion. Um, and then it's just carried me since. So like for me, my influences have always been like Van Halen, where it's like it's there, but then also because it was always in the house with my dad, and he has such a legacy on the island of what he's done with his store and stuff. It just came naturally. It came really smoothly.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And I love you to, you mentioned the Iron Maiden influence too, because like, with Siege of Buddha, this song, you're getting into like this history of the, honoring the warriors of the Siege of Buddha
Yeah, yeah.
and all that stuff. And I remember like so much stuff of Iron Maiden growing up with it being like, these guys are talking about like history, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Flight of Icarus or, whatever, Run to the Hills. This is all like real stuff. So when you're writing lyrics for like the Siege of Buddha, like how did that come about, and what's special about that story to you?
Uh, well, you know what? Like for me, I'm a huge Maiden fan, right? But I'm also a huge Sabaton fan, which is they're all like historic. Like every song is historical metal. I watch history all the time. It's to me, it's the greatest lesson for the future, but it's also so good to look back and see some of this stuff. It made me when I was writing the song. I'm like, I've always had this passion for wanting to write about history, but let's start to really do it. And so learning the history of it, learning how many times it's changed hands, with Hungarians in power, and then them losing it to someone, and then them coming to reclaim it. So I knew it had to be something like that. I knew it was like, all right, I have what I want now. And then, as I'm writing the lyrics, I'm learning more of the story and reworking them. And oh, well, this, or like even certain mentions in the song, right? Of like Castle Hill is mentioned in the song, which is a real thing
Right.
in Budapest. Bringing up the Danube, which is the real river that runs through Budapest. And it's all just a matter of my passion of not only music but history and geography.
Castle Hill still calls their names as the siege roars on. 100,000 make their way to see a new dawn.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super cool, man. That to put all that into a song like that, and where and like you said too, you're learning as you write it about these events in history, and also bringing it awareness to, like I've before this, I have to admit, I never heard of the Siege of Buddha. And then I was like, oh, you know what? This is pretty cool. And then it inspired me. And then the video, which rocks. You guys are in the middle of a battle, like the actual Siege of Buddha.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh man, so I, had to check it out.
Yeah, well, that's been one of my favorite things about this is, the music is fun, but it tells a story, and it's what I find what makes me so proud, not only at the end of the day to put out something like what we've put out, is to see the people of that country embrace it, right? And be like, oh my goodness, like you wrote about this. How cool is that? And for me, it's because I love embracing cultures and like learning different languages, trying to connect with different cultures. Because for me, that's like very important to me. Seeing that these people love it and that they're like, thank you for telling our story, or just thank you for even bringing up our country. It
Yeah.
makes me feel like there's a really special feeling to that for me, and I love that I can tell the story to maybe people who don't know the story, and like that's the best thing is like there are stories that I don't know that I learned from music. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
Right.
oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know of this, but now I do.
Right. And that's what's good about being well traveled and going to all these places because it opens up your eyes too. And like a lot of people might not even realize how big that metal scene, like the traditional metal, power metal, is in European countries. I mean, it's
Yeah.
huge. I mean,
Oh,
like that Alcatraz festival and things like that. These are like big,
yeah.
big music festivals going on. Sweden has a big stuff going on.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, are you guys planning to take a trip and get involved in any touring over or in that?
That's the goal. That is the real goal. Right now, it's been focusing on the music, just making sure everything's in line and in place. But our goal is to be touring with this, to bring this especially to Europe, because it seems to be the best market for power metal, right? I mean, I have friends that I've been talking to and just starting to put the word in, right? Start to get that going. But that's the goal is we want to be on the road with this and give it, adding a new just adding more to the scene, right? Just especially like I said, historic power metal. That's something that's not really touched upon as much. Power metal is a huge genre, but there aren't a huge amount of groups that talk about history. Like I said, I always mention Sabaton. They're my like one of my favorites, or like a band
Right.
like
Yeah.
or they talk about it, and I think it's good because not only is it metal, but it's a story, and it's people get to learn while banging their head and having their neck hurt the next day.
Right on, man. And when you guys are touring out around here now, I know you guys had a couple shows in Smithtown and around the Long Island, New York area. What's the feedback been, and how's that been going?
So far, we haven't played this yet. We're waiting to do like the full launch of what we're gonna be doing because me and her play all the time. We do everything, just to keep the gears running.
Yeah.
And
Right.
also it's great. It pays the bills. We do the cover stuff. We haven't done like this strong launch of this yet. Because right now we're just prepping everything to make sure when we bring this metal thing out on the road that it or even when we play local that we make an impact.
Right on. Are you gonna do a whole metal album? Because I was listening to some of the other stuff that you had online and like Fight You and kind of has more of like a pop rock vibe to it. So it's good that like you mentioned, Falling Reverse. I mean, these guys transcend genres
Yeah.
easily. They go country music, hip hop, rock, rap rock, metal, this, that, the other. Are you guys looking to do something like that where you're not locked into a genre? Or are you gonna do a straight up metal record or
I think it's gonna be gearing towards straight up just power metal. Because the last album I've put out was mainly instrumental. And then we did some pop rock tracks, which were really fun to work on. I absolutely enjoyed them, and they're like very special for me. But I think now we found the footing, right? We found what this is going to be. And we already have songs that are in the ringer and already ready for release. You know what I mean?
nice?
So like after this, there's going to be more to follow that is up the same alley, right? Power metal, historic power metal, and just gearing towards that. Eventually putting out an album, but for now we're going to focus on singles, just because I find singles keep people more engaged with what you're doing. Whereas if I released an album and then took a year and a half and then released another, I feel like it wouldn't be as hot off the press, right?
Right. Yeah, no, that's that I agree with that. I think that's a smart way to do it. And I think it's cool too that you are kind of in a sense, I know that the metal scene is out there, power metal and rocking, but it feels like you're bringing it to the forefront, and bringing it back, so to speak. And I think that's cool. And I'm hoping that young people cling on to this thing. Are you noticing more people like your age group kind of getting into it?
I have, as time gets on, it seems that the younger generation is getting into this type of stuff. It was, sure, it's not as common as say it was in the '80s and '90s, people picking up instruments. I have started to notice a resurgence. People are picking it up, whether it be drums, guitar, bass, even singing. Um, as far as I guess locally and on Long Island, it's a bit different. As far as people picking up like metal, but there will always be people carrying that torch. I think it purely comes to me up to letting those people carry the torch, you know what I mean? Letting that this younger generation take the reins and bring the genre to their generation, yeah?
Right. Yeah.
Instead of being like, no, no, no. Like, this is one thing I don't like is people don't listen to new music. Is they're like, oh, I love Maiden and Priest. I'm not listening to that new stuff. I'm not
Right.
listening to
Yeah.
those new bands. It's like, no, no, listen to them because they're carrying the torch. And even if you may not love it,
Yeah.
they're supporting and they're flying that flag of what you love.
Yeah, that's a great thing to say. And I agree with that a lot because a lot of people like in my age group or whatever, I'm 55, we're locked into our sound. We become those. I became my dad, instead of listening to, the Beatles all day long, I listen to my, metal, which is like, Van Halen and a lot of stuff you grew up on. Um, but like you said, to start listening to some new stuff like Ghost or whatever, or like,
Oh yeah.
like War Kings or something. It's like, or they're new to me, and I'll be like, I kind of like what I've been listening to, but I think it's important if you want to keep the genre going
Yeah.
to embrace these young people, man.
Yeah.
Now, when you guys do tour with this stuff, speaking of bands like Powerwolf and War Kings and stuff, are you going to, be theatrical, or how is your stage presence going to feel and look and feel? Because I
Uh,
like the vibe you guys had in that video. That
yeah.
was that
I,
was
I
awesome.
think with what we do, it thrives on energy, right? You know what I mean? Theatrics with props or stage, like stage whatever, like what Maiden does, where it's like the whole
Right.
scene. It's don't I love it. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. But I think that comes in
Yeah.
time and with better budget.
Right.
I think right now it,
Yeah.
it all depends on energy. And she's been doing this. She's a professional. She knows what she's doing. I've been doing this for a good amount of time. I'm not trying, like I tell everyone, I'm not trying to tell you and be like, I've been doing this for a long time. Yeah, okay, I've been doing this since I've been playing since I was 12, been gigging since I was 14. Um, so I haven't been doing this for as long as some people, but I know it works. At least
Right.
for me, I know it works, and I know it can get an audience into it, and it purely derives on energy, getting the audience involved, and I think telling the story of what we're doing, right? While just keeping it very lively, and that carries a long way. People pay to see a band that is interesting and is putting
Mhm.
their all in and putting that energy, and not a band that's standing still and doesn't look like they want to be into it. And
Right.
but even with that, it comes with not only performing, but even being, just people at the end of the day, right? Like, after the show, you go to the merch booth, you meet the people, you become friends with the people. You don't have
Yeah.
to you don't have to be like, no, 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 I'm the musician. I don't do any of that. No,
Right. Yeah.
go to the merch booth. Be, promote, but be friendly. Make these fans because at the end of the day, we're nothing without those people.
Right. Yeah. And it's important, to have that contact with the fans too, because that goes a long way,
Yeah.
um, especially when you're kind of building the brand, building the band name up. And Jill, with your experience with, TSO, h- how much did you tour with them? I remember you performed quite a bit with those guys. Did you see the world with them? And what was your take on their stage show and how they did it?
Oh, so I performed with them for 4 or 5 years. I was on the West Coast tour.
Cool.
There's the East Coast and the West Coast band, which actually, for being on the West Coast tour, we did, I would say, we did play some East Coast venues, but when I was involved, it was really amazing to see because it was in the more in the beginning stages. So the first year was, mainly theaters, um, mainly theaters, and then the following year to be in arenas, and this was across the United States. I mean, that was amazing. Just, the progression of how the show grew and adding more lights, adding pyro, I mean, it just, the concert is just unbelievable. So that was really such a great experience. But, just seeing how the build of it and being a part of that was amazing. And I loved being on the tour bus. I mean, I loved that. I would route where we were. I had like this map of the United States and, connect the dots. But it was amazing. I really enjoyed that, but TSO was, it's so condensed. Like you're in a different city every day, just knocking those shows out, and it was great. And I really did enjoy. We always did a signing after the show, and I enjoyed, meeting the people that came to the shows, and they would come every year. And some of those people I'm still friends with. So,
Yeah.
some of them I got to know pretty well, and we still keep in touch. So this is very special time in my life.
Yeah. And I think it again, I think it's so cool that you two, the life have brought you guys together, and you have both have these unique experiences in the music industry, and now you're bringing it all together into this project. And with Mickey, man, I could see you joining the ranks of the Long Island great guitar players, Steve Vai, Satriani, Al Pitrelli, guys like that. I mean, how does it? Do you see yourself amongst those guys, or what's like when you think about the road ahead? What do you aspire to be?
You know what? I just aspire to be what I am doing, but just keep doing it, right? On a more frequent scale, like I get to go to Europe quite a lot, but I want to be doing this worldwide and just keep exploring, keep playing, keep traveling, because for me that's my passion, right? Is playing and traveling. I just love. So I just want to keep that, just keep doing that and hopefully build something with this group, get something that's really people are really into, and just then I can have it for quite a long time, and just keep doing what we're doing.
Well, this is awesome, man. I'm stoked you guys took the time because I have a feeling in about a year or so you're gonna be too busy for a guy like me.
No,
So I
No,
appreciate
never too, no,
it.
never too busy for you.
I appreciate it. Now this is awesome. So what's next? When are you gonna start launching like some shows where like to test us out, test out the like and the metal and have some Long Island fans come out and check it out.
I guess only time will really tell with that. Because right now we're so focused on the music end of it, just making sure everything's ready before we do that.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, because right now, like we're gonna have another single coming out probably in mid March. Same thing, historic power metal. Um, and then just from there trying to get shows going, maybe some tours or festivals, and then I would imagine if we do that, we'll start to like creep up with maybe a show here, a show here, a show here, to get people to come see it and come experience it and see what it's like, because it's definitely new. It's definitely something that people probably aren't used to seeing us do, at
Right.
least together,
Yeah.
because we do different stuff. But yeah, I think it's something that Long Island doesn't necessarily have, is like a historic power metal band that I think could really, I think people could really like.
Yeah, to me it's like I said, taking this power metal, kind of bringing it back, and making it new again. and making it exciting again. And with the talents, the both of you, with Jill's singing and being able to hit those notes and the power behind it all, and your guitar chops, and then Steve McQueen, great name, on drums, rocking out, doing his thing. I mean, the fact that it's a trio doing this huge sounding metal music is amazing to me as well. So kudos to you, both of you, and Steve McQueen, if he's watching, shout out.
Yeah, yeah.
um, so tell everybody where they could kind of find you, follow you, check out tour dates, music, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so for me, it's Mickey underscore Lyxx on Instagram. I think just Mickey Lyxx on Facebook. You could go to www.mickeylyxx.com and you'll find everything there. With you, I think it's Jill Joy on Facebook. I think at Jill underscore Joy maybe on Instagram.
Yes,
Yeah, it's
I
that on
believe so.
Instagram. And she, you could always. Our socials are always updated, always everything. You can see everything from there because we're always posting.
I'm going to put everything in the description. So anybody watching this, just go down there, click it, and you can check them out for yourself. You guys rock. Thanks again for taking the time. This is huge. I'm going to be rocking out to you guys right after I get off this thing. I'm rocking
Oh,
out a little bit.
Thanks.
So,
thanks. Thank you.
so take care, everybody. Check them out. The Mickey Lyxx band, Jill Gioia and Mickey Lyxx. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.